So Qantas have just launched their brand new extra legroom, extra perks Economy Plus product. But the problem is, well, it's not actually new, is it? Other airlines have had similar Economy Plus products in the market for some time now. So is Economy Plus just a carbon copy of what other airlines are doing? What exactly do you get? And most importantly, is Economy Plus good for you or good for the airline? Or good for both? Or good for neither? Can I just get a small oat latte, 1 sugar, please? That's all, thank you. So I'm flying Qantas's new Economy Plus product today, just on 2 short flights up from here in Melbourne to Sydney and then back again, but trying 2 different parts of the cabin to see exactly what Economy Plus gives you. I also want to take a look at whether the Economy Plus product is actually, in the long term, and in my opinion, going to potentially hurt the business class products that Qantas offer, and also what it's going to do in terms of how points are redeemed with Qantas. Because as a frequent flyer who uses my points for things like upgrades, that's my coffee, 1 sec, I have traditionally in the past used my points quite often to upgrade from economy to business. But because of the way that Economy Plus works, which I'll explain in a second, I'm wondering if I'm ever going to do that again, especially on these short-haul domestic flights, like these 1-hour hops. So with Economy Plus, what Qantas have now, instead of having basically 3 types of seats in their cabin on a 737 or A321, you'd have your business class at the front, the main economy cabin, and then a few special seats like the exit row aisles. Now on these aircraft, you actually have 6. You've got business class at the front as normal, but now you have these new Economy Plus seats, and then you have now the exit row seats, which have been rebranded to also Economy Plus. Not 1, but 2 types of forward seats, as they call them, giving you the advantage of being able to exit the aircraft quicker before the back of the aircraft, unless they are using the rear stairs, in which case it might actually be quicker to use the rear stairs. And then after those 4 categories, you then have the remainder of the economy class cabin. And when it comes to pricing, if you want to pay for the Qantas Economy Plus seat at the front of the aircraft, on the flight we're doing today, a standard 1-hour flight from Melbourne to Sydney, that will cost you an additional $40 on top of your ticket price. For the Economy Plus seats in the exit row, those will be $30. And for the 2 new forward seats, for the slightly more forward ones, it's $13, and for the slightly less forward ones, it's $12. And as always with Qantas, booking a standard economy seat outside of those won't actually cost you anything additional. But that changes entirely if you are a Qantas frequent flyer. So Qantas Platinum and Platinum 1 members can book any of these seat types at any point for no additional premium. And Qantas Gold members can do the same, but only within a 24-hour window before the departure of the flight. And what this means is that in certain aircraft in the Qantas fleet now, you've pretty much got not just the business class at the front, but the entire front half of the aircraft all now considered premium seating. First flight of the day today then is going to be on one of the traditional workhorses of the Qantas fleet, the Boeing 737-800, which kudos to Qantas, even though these aircraft are actually being slowly replaced by the A321XLRs, it's nice to see that they have still retrofitted them with Economy Plus. Morning, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. One of the first perks of Economy Plus then is priority boarding. So you get to board in the first group and get on the aircraft early, which also means you get access to the overhead bins before other people. As you walk through business class, I just want to pause things here and show you what used to be by far my favourite row to sit on the 737. Row 4, immediately behind business class, loads of leg room, and if you got your timings right and you were quick on the trigger, you could jump on the seat map and reserve this seat a day or so before departure and get what I always thought was the best seat on the plane. But we're not in row 4 today, we're a couple of seats back. So it goes row 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 at the front of the cabin are all now Economy Plus here on the 737-800.
Wherever you're flying to today, and for whatever reason, we hope your trip is a safe one, and we hope you get to your magic place again really soon. Thank you for choosing to fly Qantas.
Definitely notice the extra space, I will say, and you can sort of slouch down in your seat a little bit more, which isn't as important on a short flight like this, but on slightly longer flights, especially around Australia, it's nice to be able to, move around, feel a little bit comfortable. The thing I do like though is that it means you can put your tray table down for more of the flight and you don't feel quite as constricted as you normally would. Like if you want to do a bit of work and you got your laptop in front of you or whatever you've got on the tray table, it just means you can keep it down for the flight and you don't feel like your knees are still pushed up against the seat in front. So let's take a look at all the airlines who've had an Economy Plus product before Qantas. Starting with United Airlines. They've had Economy Plus since 1999. Virgin Australia, who've had Economy X since 2017, more on them in a second. American Airlines, their main cabin extra product was launched back in 2012. Delta Airlines, Economy Comfort, rebranded to Comfort Plus, also known as Delta Comfort, that's been on sale since 2011. JetBlue's Even More Legroom, Even More Space product, launched back in 2008. Alaska Airlines, they've had Premium Class since 2016. And Hawaiian Airlines, their Extra Comfort product, announced back in June 2014. And in what you might consider to be a slightly cheeky move, in response to Qantas launching Economy Plus, Virgin have come out with their Extra Comfort Zero Imitation Economy X sale. Because, as they say in their own words, the original still does it best. Winky face.
Welcome to Sydney, where we recognize additional custodians in the connection to country. The current time is 8:46 in the morning.
Thank you. Bye. So, okay, look, I have a bit of a confession to make when it comes to travelling with Qantas and using frequent flyer points. Sometimes I will use my frequent flyer points to upgrade to business class on a domestic fare between Melbourne and Sydney. Now, I know what you're going to say, it's a 1 hour flight, why waste your points? But I think the whole point of having points is that the points are there to save you cash, to get the things that you want and you don't want to actually spend the money on. And for me, sometimes, even on a short flight, it's nice to know that you've got the comfort of a bigger seat, you're at the front of the plane, you've got a little bit more leg room. But if you wanted to book a regular business class fare from Melbourne to Sydney, sometimes it can be $1,000. And of course, I'm not going to spend that sort of money on a 1 hour flight. So instead, using points, yes, it can be sometimes around 20,000 points for that fare. But I mean, I earn points through things like credit cards and other travel that I do. And if I can use those to offset the cost and still get the business class seat, then yeah, sometimes I do that. But having flown Economy Plus here, and I'll reserve my judgment until I've done the other flight on the way home, knowing that I can still get a seat at the front of the aircraft with extra leg room and be able to board the flight early and leave the flight early as well, does this mean now that my days of using points to upgrade to business class on Qantas domestic flights is officially over? I wonder if Qantas's Economy Plus is actually going to have a couple of net results that they might not have originally anticipated. The first of which, like I was just saying, is I wonder if people will be burning through their points a lot less frequently because now there's no real need to upgrade to something like business class on a domestic flight because you've got Economy Plus. The second thing I'm a little bit concerned about is that, you know, when you're walking to the economy section of a flight and traditionally you have to walk through business class, now not only do you have to walk past the business class section, you then also have to walk past Economy Plus. You have to then walk past the forward seating, and then you have to walk past the exit row seats as well before you get to the main economy cabin. And I wonder if that may potentially increase that kind of feeling that there's a bit of elitism sometimes with airlines like Qantas, who, rightly so, give benefits to their premium members and encourage them to be loyal because loyalty is big business to Qantas. But will it have the net effect of making those that don't subscribe to those programs and don't fly Qantas very often to actually end up flying them a little bit less? Because, well, other people are getting all the perks and they're not. A&A. Coming in from probably Haneda. Anyway, we're going to fly back to Sydney now on board the A321XLR, still using an Economy Plus seat, but in a slightly different part of the cabin. Hello, good, thanks, how are you?
Welcome back, very well, thank you.
Thank you. As I made my way past the business class section, past my beloved row 4, past the new Economy Plus section, and finally made it to the exit row, and I asked the very lovely Canadian couple who'd already sat down if they wouldn't mind getting up because I was sitting near the window. Sorry, thank you very much.
No worries.
I settled into my emergency exit row seat, which, as you'll see, has one huge advantage. I mean, there's great leg room, obviously, but depending on your preferences, also I think has a couple of big downsides too. The first of which is the noise. Now you're sitting in the middle of the aircraft here, so you're obviously very close to the engines. If you've ever flown on a member of the A320 family, you've probably heard this noise before. That sound, which is sometimes described as a barking dog or someone trying to saw a plank of wood down in the cargo hold, comes from something on the Airbus called the Power Transfer Unit, or PTU. But because the PTU sits in the middle of the aircraft under the floor, and because our exit row seats are in the middle of the aircraft as well, if you're sitting in the middle of this aircraft, you will hear that barking dog sawing sound, and just the general noise from the engines a lot more than people sitting elsewhere in the cabin. Another downside of the exit row is when you're sitting in the middle of the aircraft, you're also the last to disembark, which you will see when we get to Melbourne. And being in the exit row, you can't actually put your bag under the seat in front of you. So if you're like me and you want to access your laptop or other gear during the flight, you will need to get up and get your bag from the lockers. And even though the Canadian couple sitting next to me were so lovely, I really didn't want to disturb them again on what was just a short 1 hour flight.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please.
Coffee, juice, soft drink?
Sparkling water if you have one, please.
So who really benefits from Qantas's new Economy Plus? Is it you, is it the airline, or is it both? So Qantas actually had to remove 3 seats on the aircraft to make room for Economy Plus. And whilst that may seem like they're losing revenue from those seats as a result, if you actually look at Qantas's load factor, or seat factor as they call it in their investor report, it shows that only 78.1% of all domestic flight seats are being sold on average. So even by removing 3 seats, now that Qantas have attached additional fees to more seats on the aircraft, and because they're not always selling 100% of every single flight, you'd assume there's some incremental revenue benefits to Qantas from Economy Plus. Additionally, by offering these seats to their most frequent flyers, they're further driving loyalty from those who choose to fly Qantas because of these free upgrades. And because Virgin generally offers similar routes to Qantas but at slightly lower prices, at least now Qantas can say that they can offer an equivalent economy product to customers after Virgin have been offering this Economy Plus option, or Economy X in their case, since 2017. But is it good for you as the customer? Well, the answer to that all depends on who you actually are. If you're a frequent flyer with the status to be able to book Economy Plus for no additional cost, then yes, it's a no-brainer. You're now getting a better product at no additional perceived cost. But if you are a price-conscious economy traveller who isn't particularly brand loyal and doesn't have that high frequent flyer status, I wonder if seeing these new fees attach to the majority of the seats at the front half of the aircraft, some of which, like those forward seats that you could have previously reserved for no additional fee, might further alienate some travellers from the Qantas brand and potentially encourage them to choose an alternative airline, one which has lower base fares on an equivalent product. I'd love to know what you think of Economy Plus. Let me know in the comments below. But as we start our descent into Melbourne, I did start working on my seat rankings to try and work out exactly, out of all these new Economy Plus seats, which is the best one for you to choose the next time you fly Qantas.
Welcome to Melbourne, Wurundjeri country. The current time is 9 minutes past.
To conclude then, I've ordered the new Qantas Economy Plus seating options in order of preference, from my least favourite to most favourite, so you know where to sit next time you're booking. My least favourite option is paying for a forward seat when you don't get any extra legroom. And to be honest, when we were parked at the gates at Sydney and in Melbourne, the rear stairs were being used and people who were sitting down the back of the aircraft were getting off faster than the people who were sitting at the forward positions of the aircraft. So I don't know why you'd actually pay for that one. My next one is the economy row seat. Yes, you get loads of extra legroom, but it is a bit noisy because you're sitting near the engines and you can't have a bag under the seat in front of you. You have to have it above, obviously, for safety reasons. Then I would go for the normal economy plus seating at the front of the aircraft. That's like rows 5, 6, 7, where I was sitting on the flight out to Sydney this morning. You get really good legroom, you do get priority boarding, and you get access to those overhead lockers as well. And now that we have Economy Plus, would I ever use points again to upgrade in the future to business class? To be honest, I don't see why you'd bother when you can get a seat at the front of the aircraft with good legroom. I'm not that fussed about the meal services or the food that you get in business class, so if you're not worried about that, I'd just say honestly, just do what I'm going to be doing in the future, which is save your points and start taking advantage of Economy Plus. Alright, thanks to us for watching. Thanks for your support on this new channel as well. Do click on subscribe if you're new here and you like your commercial aviation. Otherwise, hopefully I'll see you on the next flight. Where's my car? Always the same problem. I took a picture of the bloody place. Oh, I'm in the wrong level.